We'd like to thank you for joining today's webinar. We'll be discussing how you can improve your company's organizational efficiency using the OneNote application, which is found in the Office 365 suite from Microsoft. My name is Rob Shank, founder of Intivix. Here at Intivix, we specialize in cloud services, strategy, security, and IT services for businesses who understand the advantages that smartly applied technology can play in the market. Our focus is on empowering our clients with the right technology for their business needs, enabling them to be more competitive, more efficient, and ultimately more profitable. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started here. If you have any questions during the presentation, please go ahead and type them into the Q&A box, which should be in your Zoom toolbar at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer questions during the course of the presentation, and we'll also have some time at the end as well. The webinar will also be recorded and will be made available soon afterwards, and so you'll be able to review the information at your leisure. So moving on. We'll have a special raffle prize. If you stay till the end, we'll get you a free license of Office 365. And this includes the fully installed versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, and OneNote, of course. And so we'll make that announcement at the very end. So today, we have Melanie Estevez joining us. Melanie is a seasoned communications professional with over 15 years of experience and is expert in the Microsoft Office suite. She's worked with a wide range of clients, including Tony Robbins, Samsung, Target, Nokia, and Forrester. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Melanie, and we'll get this show on the road. Off to you, Melanie.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us in today's webinar. I'm really excited to present to you about this application from Microsoft called OneNote. Just to give you a little bit of history, actually, OneNote's existed since 2003, but it's only been sort of more regularly integrated into Microsoft packages in 2013. Just to give you a sense of sort of the history of where OneNote came from, its original code name back in 2003 was called the Scribbler. And just to give you some history, that basically it came out of the fact that Microsoft recognized everyone was using Word and it was a good application for typing notes and typing content, but it wasn't really good for writing notes. And they realized a lot of users were, especially with the dawn of styluses and tablets and stuff, people really wanted something to be able to write notes. So this is where OneNote sort of came from. So what it is basically an application that helps you sort of gather your content, including stuff that you write, and it allows you to organize all this content and coordinate it and share it with others. So why would you use this application? I think the biggest benefit to OneNote definitely is the fact that it's cloud-based. And what this means is that this content is stored in one place and it's synced across all your devices. So, you know, the days of putting a PowerPoint on a USB and then bringing it home so you could work on it on your home computer and then sharing it with someone else, those days are over. Now you could kind of store all your information in your OneNote and then share it with different people or share it across your devices. Everything is all synced and always up to date. Another great feature about it, as I mentioned, is because it's from Microsoft, it works really well with all other Microsoft applications. And it's really well, especially with the latest version of Office 365, Microsoft's definitely taken it to the next level in terms of integration with Office Suite and all the other sort of Windows capabilities. So just to get started, if you're going to work with OneNote, you need to download it onto your device. It could be your laptop, your phone, your tablet. There's also a web-based version. So at this point, I'm just going to advise that in the last 2 weeks, Microsoft actually released a very different version of OneNote. The functionality is all still there, but they've definitely made changes to the navigation and they've definitely simplified things. But one thing you'll note is, so the demo we're going to cover today is going to be the new version of OneNote. But if you actually go online and use the web-based version, you'll notice that it looks a little different. And that's because right now, the web-based version is still sort of the old style. And what we're going to cover today is the new style. Just something to be aware of. Once you've actually sort of downloaded, you're going to capture your information, you can organize it, and then you can decide who you want to share it with, and there's various passwords and security features to help control that information. So as we sort of dive in, you're going to see that not only can we actually scribble stuff, as mentioned with its history, it actually has incorporated lots of capabilities like importing Word and PowerPoint documents. You can actually incorporate audio, video files, all this kind of stuff, all within your OneNote application.
Cool. One question came in. So there's a few note-taking applications available, Evernote. So why use OneNote over some of these others?
Great question. Agreed. There's Evernote. There's actually a few of them out there. Even Google Docs is trying to get into this space. I would say there are definitely similarities, and everybody's trying to copy from each other. I've noticed Microsoft trying to copy stuff from Evernote, and Evernote trying to copy stuff from OneNote, and so on. I do think that the one advantage that OneNote has, or two advantages that OneNote has over Evernote, is the fact that it's definitely more robust in the note-taking capability. I find Evernote has that as an ability, but it's just as an additional little feature. You can draw on things, whereas in particular with this latest version, Microsoft's definitely taking the drawing ability and writing stuff on your tablet with your stylus to the next level. The other advantage definitely is the fact that if you are working in a Microsoft environment, Office 365, Windows, the fact that it's all done by the same person, Microsoft, it means that everything works much more smoothly together. Whereas OneNote, because it's a third-party application, sometimes you might have some issues with stuff being imported in, etc. Does that help?
Yeah, I think so. So you meant, so OneNote, just to kind of clarify, so OneNote is, because it's so integrated deeply into Office 365, that has some added features over Evernote, which is more of a one-off offshoot, kind of its own little entity, so it doesn't really integrate as well.
Correct. And as we dive into the demo, I think you'll see some of the facts that it's aligned up with Microsoft's ability to, import PowerPoint slides, things like that that aren't necessarily features within Evernote. Great. If we don't have any more questions, let's just jump into talking a little bit about the overall structure. So OneNote is structured sort of at the macro level in notebooks. That's sort of your big filing cabinets of how you would store your information. And then these filing cabinets are divided into sections, which you can have as many sections as you so choose. And then within these sections, you would have pages. Same thing, you can have as many or as little as you want. And all of these can be sort of customized in terms of labeling and colors, just to make it easier for you to organize your content. There's also various ways of inserting content into OneNote. Now, I mentioned the fact that when we're going to go into the demo, all the capabilities of drawing and sketching your own content if you have a tablet and a stylus, but also there's a whole tab along the top that gives you the features of, you can import tables, files, you can actually have a live video, so you can record video right into the actual page. So say you were having a meeting and you wanted to record a special guest who came in, you could record it right into OneNote and include it as part of your meeting notes. Same thing with photographs, links. I love the feature for audio. Again, another great feature if you're having a meeting and you wanted, instead of typing out all the notes, you wanted to actually capture the audio and just have someone type sort of high-level action tasks and stuff from your meeting, you could embed this audio right into your page and just have those to-do lists included and then shared with others. Now, this is an additional feature they just added in particular because they're starting to expand OneNote into a more educational environment. They have stickers, put little fun stickers throughout your documents if you want just to highlight information. And there's also an integration with meetings in case that you are working with Outlook. There's an ability to tie in any files that you have in Outlook with your OneNote. And I'm going to talk a little about this cool feature called Researcher, which really allows you, if you're doing research, the ability to do it within OneNote without having to go out to the internet. Now, there are other ways of importing content into OneNote, in particular from the internet, and they have this great tool called the Web Clipper, and it's basically a browser extension that you can add to your browser, and it makes it super easy to capture content from the web. And you can decide, I know you might be familiar with doing a screen capture, but what's great about this Web Clipper is you can be more specific. You can say, yeah, I want a screen capture, I want it all. Or maybe I want just a section of the screen. Or perhaps I just want the text. I don't actually want a picture of it. I want to be able to edit the content after the fact. So you have this ability to really choose what content you're copying from a particular website. And you can even have a bookmark, and it will capture all the information like the URL where it came from. And it even allows you to add some notes to this particular clip that you've gathered. And right here from within the Web Clipper, you can decide where it goes in your OneNote. So you don't have to kind of decide, oh, I want to save it here. It just you can, from a drop-down menu, decide, okay, put it in this location. Another great feature, as I mentioned, so you have the ability to capture content, organize your content, and share your content. A recent upgrade, actually, as part of this recent upgrade that happened a few weeks ago, they did add one added feature that's definitely a plus. In the past, you only were able to share an entire notebook with other people. And this became a bit of an issue because then if there were sections or pages within your notebook, you had to sort of password protect them to hide them from certain individuals. Now they've changed that around as part of this new upgrade, which allows you to share notebooks or share specific pages with individuals. And so that just takes that added feature that if you don't want to share the whole notebook, you can be more specific about sharing particular pages. They also have a feature that you can share a link. Now, again, that's a little less secure because anyone who has that link at that point will be able to access that particular part of your OneNote. But again, depending on the type of information that you're providing, it could be, you know, some employee information stuff. Perhaps it's okay if it's accessible by many. But one thing to note is, unfortunately, as part of this upgrade, sections cannot be specified to be shared with individuals. So it's only at the notebook level or at the page level at this point in time. But still a great feature, and we'll get into that with the actual demo.
Okay, Melanie, one question. Can you share your notebooks with people outside or external to your organization?
Great question. Certainly, yes. So as you can just see here with the little screenshot, as I mentioned, you have the ability to have a link, and that could be sent via email to clients or customers, and they can go in there, and then they don't need really password or access to get into it. Or you can actually go in and share it based on the individual. So as long as you have their email address, then you can be more specific and add as someone that you want to share. The nice thing about that is then you can always take that access away. If this particular page that's being shared here, if I was sharing it with many people, there'd be a list of all the people it was shared with, or the notebook or the page, and then I could take that control or access away. So my recommendation, if you do this in the future, is probably not to work so much in the links because of the lack of security, and definitely work more about adding people's email addresses to your contact list and then adding them to your OneNote through this particular method. Great. So if there's no other questions, I'm just going to talk about some of these other sort of features about OneNote that I think are really great. And then we're going to jump into the actual demo. So one feature within OneNote is Quick Notes. So even though we have the web clipper that I mentioned that allows you to very easily grab content from the internet, they have this additional feature which is called a Quick Note. Basically, it allows you by just a shortcut key, which is the window key and N, it allows you to create, in essence, a virtual sticky note anywhere on your computer or on your device. So if you're working away and you just want to create a quick note, then you're going to be doing your function N, and then all of a sudden, as you can see here, a little box pops up, and I could say, you know, call Susan tomorrow. And the nice thing about it is when I close is it automatically sends it to a little section within my OneNote where all my sticky notes go. And then later on, I can go in and organize them and put them where I want these particular notes to be. Another great feature I use a lot as part of OneNote is the ability to, it's called OCR, the ability to convert images to text. So I often have to deal with, I get information, as you see here, like tables that have been copied and pasted from locations, but because they're images, I can't actually grab the content or the words itself. So to save me the time of actually typing all the information out, or say you had a receipt and you didn't want to have to type out all the numbers from your receipt, this image to text allows you to convert whatever text is in the image over. Now, again, it depends on the clarity and the sharpness of the actual image, but it does, I find that it's pretty accurate, and at least will save me half the job of having to type out this information. All right, so let's jump into the actual demo. So this is the computer version, and as I mentioned, if you go online, I might give you a little preview, a show of that at the end of this demo, just to show you the difference between the web version and this new version that was just released across all the other devices. But as I sort of mentioned, that we basically have notebooks, which is this section right here. We have sections, and we have pages. And you can create new ones very easily by using the plus buttons right down here in the bottom, very easily. Something I just want to mention too that you'll notice nowhere across OneNote is there is no save button. There's no little save icons. There's none of that because it is all automatic and it is all synced automatically with your cloud. So as I type in new information here, testing 1, 2, 3, it is all automatic and saved. I don't have to worry about it, and it will be synced across all my devices. Now within these actual, so you have here the note, as I mentioned, notebooks, sections, and pages. We also have a navigation along the top, which we're going to talk a little bit about, but we have the tabs very similar to other software navigations that as you go tab to tab, you have additional functionality underneath it. And similar to other Microsoft products, if you go within each particular notebook or section, you can right-click and it provides you with some additional functionality that you can work with. So with your notebooks, you can decide, you can choose colors, you can delete them, you can copy them. You can also play around with your sections in terms of your colors. You can pin it to the start so that it's easier to access near the top. And then with your particular pages, you can be more specific. This is where you get a lot of control. You can actually change the colors of it. You can add sub-pages. You can actually look to see if there was a history with these particular pages. This one didn't have a history. Let's go here to see. Well, I'll have to find one later on that actually is where you can, if there's changes made to the document, you can actually go back and see which changes were made. So there's great functionality deeper down. Now, this is something that, again, I'll note when you go to the web-based version, a lot of this functionality used to exist sort of along the top tab, and now Microsoft sort of put it as part of the right-click drop-down menu part that you sort of go in and actually find this functionality. So it's a little bit different, but still easy to get used to. So if I wanted, once I've added the pages, like I mentioned, there's lots of ways that I can add content. So I can type it. And similar to any other Microsoft product, I can make the fonts bigger, I can change the coloring, I can add images. So we're going to talk about that, but all this sort of headings, they have some preset templates that I can play around with the titling, the colors, all that kind of stuff. Now, once I'm on my page and I want to add content, I'm going to go here to the Insert tab, and you'll see here I have all these options. I have the ability to insert a table. So when I click on that, I can actually start typing in tables. I can also, just to note though, you can copy and paste content from any other Microsoft application. So if you actually had a spreadsheet already created in Excel and you didn't want to recreate it, typing it all out here in OneNote, you could just copy and paste it in. The other option is to insert as an attachment. So if I did this, it would be a little icon and it would connect to the actual document. This would be wise if, say, you did have a spreadsheet that you wanted to have one's file from, but you wanted to share with others and you didn't want to alter it, but you wanted to keep it in Excel because of all the functionality in Excel. I would insert it as an attachment. You also have the ability, though, to insert content, let me go back to this, as a printout. So say I had a particular, this is a PowerPoint presentation. It's sort of converting it right now. It will insert all the content into the actual page. So say we're having a meeting and we wanted to have a discussion about this particular presentation and I wanted to draw all over it and make notes. By adding it in this particular way, like a PDF, it's editable. Well, not editable in itself that I can change it, but I can definitely draw all around it and make notes around it. Once things are actually on your page, Microsoft's added a bunch of functionality. You can right click and move things to the back, move things to the front, and it's pretty much endless. It will keep going as far down as you want the page to go. The challenge with that becomes then how do you find your information? Well, thankfully, Microsoft's made it easy in terms of finding that information with some search capabilities. So you're able to actually search within a particular, you could search within a notebook if you know where it actually is. So I go in here under personal and I could search. So right here I have the drop down for all notebooks, but I can specify, okay, I think it's under personal, or I think it's under this particular area. So say I'm looking for my training plan. So you'll see as I've looked for, it will find any instance of this particular word of training plan. Now I'm just going to go back to my home and close out of this. Another great feature that they have is the ability to create tags. So say we were having a meeting. Here's a little meeting template that I've added, and we created an action or a tag to call somebody, that we need to call Susan about tomorrow's meeting. Here along the Home tab, we have the ability to include a tab. So I can mark something as important, as a question. In particular, this one, I'm going to have an important star, and I'm going to say, call Susan for tomorrow's meeting. Now, what's interesting about the tags is once you've created all these tags, then you can actually go in here in the search functionality and type in, I'm looking for important tags. I'm going to type in call Susan. There we go. There we go. And then we're able to call Susan. Now you'll see I actually have two. I have one from my quick notes that I had taken earlier when I just decided to do that. And they also captured one here in the actual meeting itself. Now this is another feature. Unfortunately, I found that in the previous version of OneNote, you had the ability of actually looking for all the tags within all your notebooks. And unfortunately, it's sort of taken that feature away. So you have to be more specific in terms of asking. And one thing you will note if you do go to the web version is the tag capability is a lot more robust. You can be specific about projects and emails and that kind of thing. So Microsoft definitely is sort of, I feel like they're getting away from this tags functionality, but they did leave some elements just to make it easier to highlight some things that you want to do within your particular OneNote. Now, let's talk about this drawing tab since this was originally known as Scribbler. I'm just going to close out of this and just go here to our marketing section. So you'll see here along the top navigation, we have lots of opportunities to choose what kind of pen I'm using, a highlighter, lots of colors that I can use. I can create shapes automatically, and definitely I could add text if I wanted. I can erase stuff, and even for equations. So say I wanted to do some math equations, it will help you here with some actual calculations. So there's, again, I'm not using a stylus, so it's a little bit more difficult with me, with the mouse for me to actually draw, but definitely with the stylus, I could write notes. Hi. So some great features here. Again, on a tablet, on your phone, this would definitely be brilliant. Now, some other options as well is the ability to change how you view things. We have the ability to change this. Again, this is a newer feature, not so prevalent in the last version, is I can specify show me only pages, show me only sections in pages. So say I want to just maximize how much I'm looking on this particular, on my screen. Right now, a lot of it's being taken up by these notebooks. So I could decide, hey, you know what, just show me sections and pages because I don't really want to look at my notebooks. And that just gives me a little bit more viewing on my screen of this particular space. Another great feature they've added with this recent upgrade is the ability to open multiple versions of OneNote throughout on your computer. Before, there was only one running, and now you can kind of have it running all over the place. You also have the ability to change the colors of your actual pages. If you wanted to add some dynamic page colors, you can change the page colors. What I really love is the fact that, in particular, if you are working on a tablet and you want to keep your writing from looking like chicken scratch like mine does, you can use the rule lines, and it gives you lots of options and just giving you some lines to write on. So you can decide, I want thick lines, I want more like a graph chart for drawing images and stuff. So definitely makes it a lot easier. Now you also, if you're working on a section with multiple people, you have the ability where over here on this side, now again, I only work OneNote with myself, but if you were sharing this with other individuals, you'll have the ability, if other people have authored, you'll be able to see them here on the right-hand side. So just for your own sanity, you might want to hide the authors or you might want to actually show them. Now, another great feature as well is looking at history. So say I was looking at a particular, I'm going to go find a file that I've done some work on in the past. Let's go find my business files. Okay. And one that I've actually changed. Here we go. There we go. So here's one that actually has some changes because, and you can tell because now I have the option to have page versions. So when I click on page versions, you'll see here I'll have this option that will show me the previous, when changes were made to my particular document and by who. In this case, it was always me. So again, it's a great feature if you want to just keep track and you've shared your notebook with many individuals and you want to make sure you know who's changing what. This is just a great feature to keep tabs on what information is changed. And so as I mentioned, we can share information quite easily by creating a link, as we mentioned before, and it will generate a URL that I can copy and paste into my email or web page. I can also share the page with particular individuals. So I can go and say, I want to share this page with a particular person and add them to my particular list. So in this case, I'm going to share it with, these are shared with myself, but I can send another copy to somebody else if they're on my list. Okay. I showed you the quick notes tool. I want to show you the conversion tool, which is just great for receipts and say, like I just showed you, I had a sample of a table. So here's an image. The image has text on it, but I don't want to have to type all this information out. So it's great. You just highlight the actual image and you have the option to go to the picture and you can say copy text. And then anywhere else on the page, I'm just going to paste. And then you'll see that they basically have typed out as much as they could. Now you see some of the stuff's not quite accurate. And again, because the image is a bit complicated, some of the text isn't always in the right place, but it definitely saves me a bunch of time and effort having to actually copy all this information myself. Now, the last sort of cool feature that it's existed, but I definitely feel like they've made some additional upgrades to it to make it easier to find and easier to use is the researcher functionality. So that exists within the Insert tab. And what you'll see here is that you'll be able to click on it. I'm just going to close the share here just so it's not so confusing. By clicking on the Researcher tab here, it opens up this window where I can just type in whatever I'm particularly looking for. So if I'm looking for marketing strategies, it will go onto the internet and search for sort of more research related material that I can go and look at. And what's great is that I can just very quickly add it to my page. So by clicking and adding it, now again, I can go and that's the nice thing about OneNote, everything is very fluid. It's unlike Word, where I don't know if you've worked with Word before, but sometimes when you're putting in content, stuff starts, moving down the page and you don't want it to move down the page. I love the fact that OneNote, their particular pages are basically wide open canvases. Stuff can be layered on top of each other, stuff can be put down below and quickly moved top to bottom. And I love that sort of functionality. Now, I've also seen people use this pages because they've added this sort of additional functionality to create handouts or meeting documents, because you do have the ability to actually print this content after the fact as well. So if you wanted to share or print this as a page, as a handout, you could actually do that. And I see that, again, with the features that Microsoft has started to add in terms of the draw capabilities, as well as the formatting here in terms of under home, the ability to change the text and the painters and the headers. I feel that Microsoft definitely wants us to use OneNote for more than just taking notes. So that's just something else to keep in mind. Before I move forward, do we have any other additional questions?
We do, actually. There's a few of them. Is there a way to recover deleted files or information within OneNote?
Yeah, for sure, which is, again, great. So where I was looking before, anytime that you have a document that has been altered in some degree, let me go find the one that I was particularly looking at before. Here we go. So when you actually right-click and go to page versions, I'll close the researcher here so you can see this a bit better. Under page versions, when I actually click on the version itself, it will bring me that version of a deleted file. So you can actually take, so this was an old one from February. I could make this the current one. So it will replace the one that's currently my new one. So if, say, someone deleted a file or updated a file by accident and you're like, oh no, no worries, the information is actually all stored here so that you could go back in time and go back to make those changes. Great.
Cool. One other question that came, I think this relates to the external sharing that we were talking about previously. Is it safe to say that the link, I guess the external link that you would email to somebody, does not require the receiver to have OneNote? So they would just use the web version?
Correct. They would go, it would force them to go to the online version. And from my understanding, they'd be able to see a basic functionality, but then Microsoft's going to want them to sign in to some degree to have at least the web-based version. So it's sort of similar. I don't know if you've ever worked with Dropbox or Google Docs. A lot of those as well, when you share the link, they don't necessarily make you create a whole account, but they do make you kind of have some basic sign-in capabilities so they know who you are.
Cool. Okay, let's see if there's any other ones. And yeah, I think that's it for the moment.
Great. All right, so I'm just going to jump back over to our PowerPoint and talk just again a little bit more about why you would want to use OneNote. Again, as I mentioned before, it's just sort of the integration with Microsoft products. It does integrate well with Outlook as well as Visio. There's an app that helps those two tools sort of, if you had to do flowcharts and that's more of those types of process charts, there's a way to integrate Visio and bring those charts right into OneNote, which is great. There's people always creating sort of third-party apps to increase the functionality of OneNote. Now, Microsoft itself has sort of created an online docs to compete with Google Docs sort of thing. And so they're increasing the functionality with OneNote and this docs application. There's also another third-party tool called EDU on the Go, which basically helps use your OneNote to create training material and leverage it to sort of create your material and upload it online if you're creating a sort of online training. And then Obindo is a great sort of tool that allows you to capture information from your email, specifically Gmail, and route it into whatever app you want. In this case, you can use it to route your Gmails right into OneNote. So from an organizational standpoint, a lot of people right now, you have your email accounts with all your folders. Like, what if you didn't have that? What if all your information, all your emails that matter were sent here to your OneNote, where you could sort of store and organize them with the actual content that you want? And then you could highlight, tag, and feature what you actually want to work with. Just something to consider. And I have seen a lot of clients who've kind of taken, and this is where you could take OneNote to the next level, is start considering, replacing, what you currently use for organization. Like, what do you use right now for your business meetings? Do you usually someone takes Word, takes the notes in Word, or maybe it's in Excel in a table, and then it's emailed to everybody after the fact? What if instead someone typed out the notes or recorded the notes inside of OneNote, and then that page or notebook was shared with everybody, and they would automatically get a notification when a new file was uploaded to that particular notebook? Just something to consider in terms of sort of, again, maximizing your productivity by, again, just minimizing duplicate work or work that just sort of takes a bit longer than it should. So with that, I'm going to actually, before I turn it over to Rob, I'm going to ask if anybody else has any other further questions, and hope that you'll sort of consider giving OneNote a try.
Yeah, actually, one other question did come in. Can OneNote be used on Apple products?
Certainly, yes, it can. It's this newest update as well is completely functional on both Windows and Apple products as well.
Great. Okay, we'll give it another few seconds here and see if any other questions come in.
Yep, I'm just going to jump over and just show you guys a little bit more. Actually, while we're here waiting for questions, I'm just going to quickly show you guys. This is the web-based version, just so I'm not totally crazy, so you guys can see what I'm talking about, the fact that it is a little bit different. So what you'll notice compared to the one that I showed you, the actual application version, is you'll see here we still have the tab along the top for home, insert, draw, and view, but now we have an additional one for print. But the difference is you'll see is as I go to each tab, the navigation is a lot more significant. Let me show you. So as you see here, like this looks a lot more like what you would see in Word or PowerPoint or any other Microsoft product. Same thing, you see this icon looks very familiar to other Microsoft products. Same thing with all this stylus stuff. And as I mentioned, the fact that they had a tagging system, as I show you here, look, this is the very extensive tag system that used to exist as part of OneNote. Now, not really sure why, perhaps because it wasn't used or wasn't very effective, but as I showed you, Microsoft's sort of moving away from this tag system and instead just allowing people to sort of create and organize the content the way they want. I also want to highlight here that as you kind of go along the top, we have the ability to there's an immersive reader. So this is an additional feature that allows content to be read to you. So say, for example, you didn't really want to spend a lot of time reading an article. There's actually an ability within this to have content be read to you. Again, it's a bit of a computerized voice, which isn't kind of fun. But again, if you didn't want to see, wanted to have sort of content read to you, this is quite fun. What else did I want to show you here under the pieces? Yeah. So the other ability is, as you can see has page versions. Personally, I found that much easier in the past to just go here and go page versions. I want to see who has kind of created these particular edits to these pages, but it's fine. So Microsoft, as I mentioned, for streamlining purposes, has kind of hidden well, I wouldn't say hidden. Hidden sounds like they're trying to hide it from us. They've sort of dropped a lot of the some of the features into the right-click and drop-down menu. So the functions still exist. They're just maybe a little harder to find. But I guess the pro and con of it, as I look at it, is the fact that, especially this new version, the fact that it's so streamlined definitely makes it, I think, a lot more effective for tablets and for phone and using on your phone. Because again, there's just less buttons and less pieces, so you can kind of get to your pages and get to your sections much faster, much easier. I see we have a few more questions.
We do. Can OneNote transcribe voice to text?
No, it cannot. You have to go and use, there is an application. So again, as I mentioned here, don't know where, I haven't figured out yet, to be really honest. I haven't figured out where Microsoft has put it in this version. It's not as easy to find, but in the old version, you used to have the ability to use, it's called Office add-ins, which is basically easy way to go in and find third-party applications. And as part of this third-party application, I did find there was something that was ability to create text to voice, but there was nothing actually in OneNote itself.
Okay. One other question. Can notebook names be changed?
Certainly, absolutely. So I can go here to the notebooks. Either this is the web-based version, but let me just, for simplicity, go to this version here, and I can definitely right-click and rename the notebook from personal to, you know, purple. It could be whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Any other questions? Same thing with the sections and pages, could be named whatever you'd like.
Yeah, let's see, I think, yep, nothing else at the moment.
Great. Okay, so we'll pass it over to you, Rob, if you want to talk about your draw, and then if any other questions come in, please let me know.
Yeah, so if you're thinking of migrating your business to Office 365 and you'd be interested in a free consultation, please feel free to reach out to us. You know, we've performed many Office 365 migrations to date and kind of refined this process significantly. If you already have Office 365 and there's some apps you'd like to learn more about, we have a great client development training program, and we'd be happy to kind of customize an Office 365 training program for your business so you can maximize the value of the Office 365 ecosystem. So one last thing we wanted to do is announce the raffle prize winner. And so the raffle prize winner is Gary Garcia. So I'll be reaching out to you separately, Gary, and giving you your code for your 1-year free Office 365. Let's see if we happen to have any other questions that have come in, and nothing at the moment. So I guess we'll maybe give another minute or two, and then if no other questions, we'll wrap it up and let you guys all get back to your day.
Yep, that sounds good. And yeah, so I just want to put it out there again for everybody that if you know you want to follow up and learn more about OneNote, unfortunately, if you do go out onto even Microsoft's website, a lot of the knowledge-based content right now is based on the old version, just to know. So things that you saw today are pretty much cutting edge new, and a lot of that information doesn't exist in the knowledge bases yet. So if you do see, like I said, a lot of the functionality is the same, it's just in different places, so you might have to sort of fiddle about a bit to actually find it. But as Rob mentioned, if you do have any questions about using OneNote as well, please let me know.
Excellent. Oh, just one other note. If anybody, we'd love to get some feedback and some comments from all of you attendees. If there's any particular applications that you'd like us to do another webinar on, love to hear some feedback about what is most interesting to you guys, or if you guys have other areas that are of interest to you, and are happy to incorporate that feedback and provide some great content for you guys moving forward. All right. So I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. Everybody, thank you so much for attending, and wish you guys a great rest of the day, and we'll see you on the next one. You take care. Have a great day.